All right, good morning. We're here at the intermediate chess class at the LA Chess Club. We're going to be doing a game from the New York Championship 1940. Mr. Engel is versus Mr. Bushki. Mr. Engel is white, Mr. Bushki is black. E4. Great opening move for white. Why? Bishop out, queen out, sits on a center square, controls a center square. Mr. Bushki decides to play knight f6, which immediately attacks the unguarded e4 pawn. Anybody know what the name of this defense is? This is the Alekhine. Alekhine. The world champion worked on this opening from 1910 to 1921. For 11 years, he analyzed this opening for black and sprung it on the world in a major championship in 1921 after working all of the variations out for 11 years. And it's still played occasionally, not very much anymore, because what happens is after white does chase the knight around, okay, the key is, of course, white is not developing pieces and black is popping this knight around 2 or 3 times, which violates an opening principle, but also you're not developing. Plus, the pawns in the center here will become targets later for black. That was the theory, and it's not played at the highest levels very often anymore because it really doesn't develop very quickly. But it was a very interesting novelty back in the early 20s, and a lot of people played it for like 50, 60 years. Even Fischer played it occasionally. And sure enough, white says, I'm going to chase you, Mr. Knight, and make you violate an opening principle. You're moving the same piece twice in the opening. But white's also moved this pawn twice and neglected development. So it's sort of like a push. This is the modern variation. The old variation was c4, the knight goes back to b6, and then white has a very strong pawn center. But like I said, there were no pieces developed by white, and those pawns sitting in the center here will become targets later for black. This is the correct continuation. What you're doing is that if c4, the knight will come back to b6 and always has an escape square here at d7. All right. White stakes out his claim to the center now, which is not bad. Creating a what on this knight? A pin, a relative pin. The knight is pinned to the queen, so the knight, at least for one move, can't move. And white says, I'm going to take my pin away. And black said, okay, should I take? Should I develop? Should I maybe get ready, fianchetto the bishop and castle kingside? Black decides to attack the center pawn. I don't think that was a wise move. White says, I'm getting my king safe. Black develops his queen. Maybe his idea is knight out, he's going to castle long. That's a possibility. I'm not sure I like this because the minors aren't being developed. The queen came out, I think, a little bit early. Let's see what white's going to do. E takes D. Okay, you could take this pawn back 2 ways. One with the pawn, one with the queen. If you take with the pawn, you're opening up the E file on the king. And the bishop is still locked in. If you take with the queen, you're sort of eyeing h2, but then you've moved this piece twice in the opening. I don't know. I think pawn takes is probably better. Yeah, that's what he did. And sure enough, threatening a what kind of check? The bishop moves. Discovered check, right? So if I were black, I'd just put the bishop here and get ready to castle. Let's take a look. Yep, sure enough. So no discovered check now, and he's ready to castle, finally. Okay. Pinning the bishop to the king so that if the king does castle, you just take, oh, but you can't take it for free. But then again, this is being attacked, and there's nothing protecting the knight. So it's sort of like a little bit of a double attack. You're attacking the guard of the bishop, so you can't castle because you take the knight, and then you can take the bishop. I think black has a problem. The first thing is he's got to protect this knight, right? This knight is just hanging there. So what should he do?
Queen C6.
Well, bishop takes knight indirectly protects the bishop.
Okay. But doesn't the queen take that?
Yes, queen takes back, and now you're attacking the bishop twice.
Knight.
So you really can't save it because you could only protect it once, maybe with queen over, but you could move it away. And there's nothing wrong when a piece is being attacked and you can't find a way to protect it. Why don't you just look around to see if you can move it somewhere and it can't be taken, right? So, sure enough, he goes back. Now, this is a very interesting point. You know that no matter what move you make, more than likely he wants to castle. Of course, he can't castle because he's hanging the bishop. So, knight out to protect the bishop, and then he's going to castle. Would you do an exchange sacrifice? Rook takes bishop, force the king out? I'm thinking about that. I'm just automatically just thinking about it. Maybe knight out to pin the knight to the bishop, and you still can't castle because you're going to lose the bishop. Would you develop a knight here with the idea maybe of here to fork? Of course, knight takes, bishop takes. I don't think there's enough pieces yet for sacrifices yet. I think you need to develop these two minors on the board before you can start to create a scenario. Let's take a look. Sure enough, white knew this because he knows he still can't castle, so he sort of got like a free extra move because the rook is attacking the bishop. Now this could come over here, or you could sort of harass Her Majesty. Maybe knight here, getting rid of this, keeping the pin.
Outpost on G5. Oh, no, it's not an outpost.
Well, not really, because the knight takes, but then bishop takes, and then you're threatening f7 and b7.
So maybe that is.
Because you have a battery here and you have a battery here.
So maybe that is right move.
So if you're black, I don't know how you can guard this square. Maybe take. I don't know if taking is right. This is going to be developed right away. This last piece is coming out. So I think this piece has to be developed. Let's take a look and see what he did. Well, after knight f6, sure enough, white decided he would create a battery, because if knight takes, the bishop here along with the queen is attacking this pawn twice. You can't defend it a second time. And at the same time, you're threatening this pawn twice with this battery.
And you can't defend it evenly.
Yeah, well, you could castle, but then you would lose the bishop, right?
Did black go to c6?
So let's take a look and see what he's got. Well, what he did is queen back to guard the bishop,
Now you could do your exchange.
okay? And of course, if knight takes knight, pawn takes, and you're opening up the G file.
Wait, but now what if you take with the rook? Then he has to take with the queen.
I think that's, yeah, that might be the best way to go. That might be the best way to go. He was probably going to give up the queen for these two pieces, right? But he found a better way to go.
Wow. Okay.
Now the sacrifices come in.
The queen for the queen. Oh yeah, queen for
Well, I'll tell you right now, it's mate in 3 for white. Mate in 3.
White gets mated?
No, black gets mated in 3 because it's white to move.
1, 2, and 1.
So the knight takes the bishop.
Also need a check so they could take the queen. If the bishop
Oh,
was
I
there
think I
to
found
check,
It's mate in 3 for white. What's the first move?
First move is queen takes knight.
Yes! Excellent. Queen takes knight is the first move. What's the really only move that black has?
Oh,
take with the G.
Well, you can't take with the bishop because it's pinned by the rook.
Take with the pawn.
You got to take with the pawn.
Now take with the knight.
Take with the knight.
And your
And what's the only move that the king has?
king F.
Because you can't go here because of the knight.
Yeah,
You're in check.
F1.
You can't take it because, right. And now mate in 1.
Oh, bishop. Bishop mate.
Checkmate.
Good.
That was a mate in 3. You had to see a queen sacrifice, mate in 3. That's not that deep. That's only 6 ply. Even a D player should be able to see that, or a C player, okay? But you start thinking about that because of the fact black hasn't castled yet. You have a pin on the bishop. You start thinking sacrifice, start thinking scenarios where you have those checkmates, where you can sacrifice that stuff. All because black never castled. And it seemed like he did okay in the first 4 or 5 moves. He's following the Alekhine. I really think this is the move that cost him. This is the tempo that cost him the game. Because he could have developed a piece or gotten ready to do something else. But that was very cute. Very, very, very cute. Very, very, very cute game by white. Okay, let's put it back.
Small moves. Checkmating with 2 minor pieces.
Yes, but that happens because you open up lines. You open up diagonals. And black just took too long before he castled. If you can keep your opponent from castling as long as possible, it certainly gives you a lot more options. A lot more options. Very dangerous if you don't castle. Okay, that was really a very cute game. Very, very, very cute. Okay, let's take a look. Aha. Here we go. Chicago, 1904. Mr. Dodge is white. Mr. Huff is black. Mr. Dodge starts with D4. Looks like a great opening move for the Masters and the Grandmasters. Sits on a center square, controls the center square, doesn't allow the bishop to be developed. It can be a slow developing game. And sure enough, Mr. Huff says, hey, it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And now we have our classic what? Yeah, looks like a Queen's Gambit. And I believe this is a counter gambit. Okay, so you take me, I take you, you take me, I take you. Interesting against the Queen's Gambit. I'm sure there is a specific name for this. I'm not sure what this is, but I know this is a counter gambit. The bishop now will take back if the pawn takes. If the pawn takes here, the pawn takes here. So that was not a bad move for white. It's sort of like a developing move. E takes D. And instead of pawn takes, ooh, we got a quick queen development. Queen out to D4, but I don't know. Her Majesty can get harassed with knight F6. But instead of knight C6, you got knight F6. Probably because he wants to develop the bishop, and he didn't want the queen taking this G7 pawn. He wants to get the bishop out so he can castle. Okay, so knight to C3. Interesting. Finally, harassing Her Majesty, and the queen just goes back. Now, she has moved twice in the opening. Black has 2 pieces developed. White only has 1.
And one of them is kind of blocked.
Yeah, so it seems like after the opening sequence, Black's got the better. He's got his tempo back that he lost on the first move, and he's got 2 pieces developed. Queen side before king side, I don't know if I agree with that. The idea being eyeing C2 because knight's going to come here and try the fork with the check, because obviously the queen can't take because the bishop's covering C2. So that's, I think, what he's setting up. I don't think I like this move. I understand the reasoning. He doesn't want the knight coming in here, but it really does weaken this dark square diagonal here against the king. Sure enough, knight coming in to IC2, getting ready for the fork. But I would have developed the bishop and castled before I do this. I believe in castling early and then attacking. I don't like attacking before my king is safe. There's just too many things that can go wrong. Even sacrifices might work if you keep the king from castling. So, here we go. Queen up, check, at the same time attacking the knight. So really, let's see what we have.
He doesn't really attack the knight.
Well, that's right, the bishop's protecting. So you have, let's see,
Oh, bishop.
you have one way to stop a check, 2 ways to stop a check, 3 ways to stop a check, 4 ways to stop a check, 5 ways to stop a check, 6 ways to stop a check, and you can move the king to 7. So you have 7 choices to stop that check. What? Well, the bishop is not bad because it immediately attacks the queen. I sort of like that. But then, of course, you've moved it twice and you've sort of given up, your shot here. You can make, pawn to c6. You can make a beautiful pawn chain.
The knight.
This knight here,
the other
and this knight. I think I said that. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let's see what he chose. I like Perry's c6. Let's take a look. He decided that he would force trade queens if he does it. And sure enough, queen takes, and he took with the king because he wants to keep his fork. But he didn't really have to do that because by taking back with the bishop, there's nothing here to take the knight. The queen's not here anymore. He still would have had the fork. I might have taken back with the bishop.
But with the queens off, you can.
Right. Well, he blocks the bishop, but I think he's still thinking that he's got the fork. Well, he could have forked now, and then the king moves, knight takes, but then he's going to lose the bishop. So he didn't want to lose his bishop. That's a very interesting move. Okay. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Still attacking the bishop. Knight takes pawn. Rook over, so there's no fork, just a check. But I don't know if I like this. This diagonal is way wide open. It's still dangerous. It's still very dangerous, even though he saved the rook. He gets his check. King has to move. And he forks him on this side to take this rook. So those 2 knights, remember what Mick said, when your 2 knights come to your side of the board, get rid of them. He's got both of them down on the 7th rank. He got 2 of them down here. That's really bad, okay? All right. Yeah, so it looks like kings should take that knight, right?
King can't take that knight.
Oh, he can't. It's protected by the bishop, can he? So he's got a problem. So he's got to come up.
That was a little whoops.
And now, threatening what? I think he's threatening mate in 1 right here. Bishop check, because the knight protects the bishop. The king can't take the knight. He can't go here, he can't go here, and he can't go there. So he'll be check. This is going to be checkmate.
What about E2?
E2. Let's see. Yeah. Can he go to E2? Yeah, he could.
Oh, or you can move the rook down to E1, and then move the king over, and then put the rook.
Maybe this rook is going to come over and mate him anyway.
D1, D8, E8. He can't do anything to stop him.
All right. He gets a helper out, but I think it's too late. Sure enough, king went, oh, he went to king, he went here, not here, he went here. E2.
You mean in the very beginning?
Yeah, when he got checked, he went here. When the knight went here, he went here. That's what it is. It's king E2. That's why. And then when he came out here, now this came out, and this is the check. Okay, so it's the same. It's sort of the opposite that I saw. So now he goes here.
Oh, and now you can check.
Yeah, now it's made. Look at this.
God.
Look at this.
That's beautiful.
I've never seen that before. 4 minors on the 6th and 7th rank. I've never seen this before, ever. That's phenomenal.
That's a good player.
That, let's see, this game is Chicago, 1904.
That was awesome.
So pretty, a grouping deserves a diagram.
That was awesome.
Yeah. They don't do many diagrams in this book, but this is one of them because it's so unique.
That was
Look at this.
awesomest checkmate ever.
You got it. All right, thanks, guys.